Hello. Hi, everyone. So, welcome to the stream of Premier Chess Academy. Regarding the Scotch Gambit opening, today we will be discussing regarding this very special, very unique, and very aggressive opening, which will definitely help you out to become a stronger player. Before we start it, let me introduce myself, everyone. My name is Ayush Patnaik. I am one of the coaches in Premier Chess Academy, and apart from being a coach in Premier Chess Academy, I have some achievements as well. I'm a FIDE-rated chess player, and also I became a national chess instructor this year. Apart from that, I have an experience of 5 years in teaching chess to the students online and offline both. And I've been playing chess when I was just 4 years old. Yes, you will be surprised. But when I was just 4 years old, I have started playing chess, and I've been playing chess for almost like 18 to 19 years now. So with a vast experience, I really wanted to share out one of my opening weapons, that is Scotch Gambit, which have really helped me out to outplay many players, not only in the online chess events, but along with that, I have uh, scored a successful results in the over the board events as well. So let's start with the journey. And before I start it, again, one more point, everyone, I wanted to mention, if there is any doubt you want to ask regarding the opening which we are discussing, or if you have any queries related to any variations which we are discussing, you are open to ask in the comment section. I will be responding to everyone's chats and everyone's replies. I will be giving on it. So let's start with the opening. So it starts with the move pawn to e4, everyone. White starts with the move pawn e4. Black responds with the move pawn to e5. Why I usually prefer playing the king's pawn opening, everyone? Like, we can even go with a queen's pawn opening as well. We can even play a king's Indian opening as well by playing knight f3. But the reason I prefer playing pawn to e4, because it gives us usually a open kind of position, and in open kind of position, players actually get a more tactical type of opportunities where they can execute pinning in chess, double attack in chess, and various other tactical motives can be executed. So that is one of the reason why I prefer playing the king's pawn opening, that is pawn to e4. And against king's pawn opening, what's the common and the most popular response to this move? That is the symmetrical one, pawn to e5. And now, after this move, we will straight away target this pawn, which is on the e5 square, by developing our knight on the f3 square. So the move knight f3 attacks the pawn on the e5 square, and also it's a kind of developing moves. Now black responds with a very natural move, that is knight to c6, defending the pawn back with the knight, something like this. And now, before I reveal the move which starts the game of Scotch opening, any guesses, everyone, in the chat section? We can have like any guesses what move can lead to a Scotch opening. So let me look out for the chat. Okay, so I have one question in the chat. It's by D Brothers. They are asking, what should you do if you are black and your opponent starts with the queen's pawn? So against the king's pawn opening, everyone, if our opponent starts with the queen's pawn, that is pawn to d5, it will get converted to a Scandinavian defense. Definitely, it will take away our chance in executing Scotch Gambit, but no issues. You can simply take the pawn back, the queen will take the pawn back, and now you can simply normally develop your pieces, and you can actually play out your moves, which are kind of very similar to the opening which we are going to discuss. But this Scandinavian defense is a complete different opening, which we can discuss maybe on some other videos or other live stream. So just to showcase like what are the initial moves you can play on, like pawn d4, later you can bring out your bishop, and you can really have a very good gameplay. So I guess the D Brothers, I answered your question. That is how to play if someone plays the queen's pawn d5 move. Okay, right now let's go with our main line, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. And here I asked, what move can we play to start the Scotch opening thing? So the move which can be played to make a start of a Scotch opening is actually pawn to d4. So we can play, everyone, pawn to d4, which makes a start of the Scotch opening. So what does this move really do? Like, it actually plays out a very crucial role in developing our bishop from this particular diagonal. Apart from that, usually players struggle to take control over the center, but within the third move, you're striking in the center, and that is really helpful in order to snatch away your opponent's center and also to activate your pieces in a much more faster way. So I will just write down the opening name here. Along with that, I will just write related to some histories which are present, why to play out this opening. Let me write it here. Scotch Gambit. So till now we have not entered in the Gambit zone. So if anyone have any idea how can we convert this Scotch opening into a Gambit opening, they can definitely respond in the chat. So we have Scotch Gambit opening here. Let me put this in a box. Okay. Okay, so apart from that, let me add one more thing here. Okay. Okay. So I have added the main point here related to this opening. So let's continue. So after the move pawn to d4, everyone, what are the possible responses you can have against this move? Anyone in the chat who wants to respond? What are the possible moves black can respond against the move pawn to d4? I guess you must be guessing your move around a move like pawn to d6. You may strike this move in the game, or you may play out a move like pawn to f6 to defend your pawn, or some other players may go with the move pawn takes simply on the d4 square. So what are the possible moves you think black can play here against your move pawn to d4? Definitely try to answer it in the chat, everyone. Okay. Okay, someone have said bishop b4 black can come up with. So definitely bishop b4 looks like a very good move. Like, it's a developing move which is directly attacking our king with the check. But if this move happens, it will give us the advantage immediately in the game, Miss Usha, because we can now play a move that is pawn to c3. Not only we are blocking the check, everyone, but along with that, we are counter-attacking the bishop. And when the bishop tries to defend itself, for example, the bishop goes away one square back to the a5 square, then we can play out a move that is pawn to the d5 square, attacking the knight. And I guess everyone have now understood what will happen if the knight gets away. So can you answer in the chat, what piece can we capture after the knight goes away to the e7 square to defend itself? Is black losing any material now? If it is, then what material black is now losing, which we can capture for free? So can we have some answers in the chat? Okay. Okay, so let me reveal it, everyone. So white can actually capture the pawn on the e5 square. Well done, Ms. Usha, who have answered this. So knight takes e5 is a possible move white can actually go for. Knight takes e5, and now white have an early advantage of gaining an extra pawn. So that is one of the reasons why black can't actually play passively against your move pawn to d4. And why I usually recommend this move, everyone, pawn to d4 instead of bishop c4, the classical Italian opening, because when we play this opening, which most of the players love to play this, it don't give us immediate big advantage. Like, you have to convert this game with a lot of good moves. Like, you have to bring out your all pieces in the game, and you won't be getting a much bigger advantage if your opponent goes wrong. But Scotch Gambit opening is a complete different story, everyone. If your opponent goes wrong early in the game, you will be gaining a massive advantage. So let's see how can we get that massive advantage. So after pawn d4, bishop b4 check is not working, as someone suggested in the chat, because c3 comes in. Bishop save itself anywhere, maybe it can go to e7 square as well. We simply attack the knight. When the knight gets away, we are winning a pawn on the e5 opening, and our main intention of playing this opening gets completed. So that's why Any passive move like pawn to f6 is also not going to work, because we can actually exchange the pawns here, bring out our bishop, and black will never be able to castle on the king's side, because our bishop will be taking control over the g8 square. So that's the thing, black can't play passively against our move pawn to d4. Even if pawn to d6 comes in, we can exchange the pawns and then exchange the queens, and it will give us immediate advantage in the opening itself, because we have taken the power from our opponent of castling in the game. So definitely all these kinds of passive move against your Scotch opening, that is pawn to d4, is not going to work. The only move which is considered good for your opponent is pawn takes pawn. And now this is the main part of today's masterclass. We are going to discuss that how to respond to this move, pawn to d4. So any thoughts, everyone, how to respond to this move, pawn to d4? You can make a guess in the chat section. If you want a little hint, then the thing which I have, the paragraph which I have mentioned on the left side of the board, you can take help from there and try to answer what should we respond after the move pawn takes d4 with the white pieces. Okay, we have some suggestions in the chat. Some are suggesting we should simply recapture the pawn back on the d4. That we can go for. And some other suggestion we have from Miss Gayatri, that is, she's suggesting we can play pawn to c3. That's also a very good move which we can come up with, which gets converted to ultimate opening, which we are going to discuss. The move which I am going to suggest is actually bishop to c4. Okay, someone have tried bishop g5 as well. Bishop g5 is equally good, but in order to play out the best move, in order to play out the gambit move, we have to play bishop to c4, everyone. So this is the main move which we are going to discuss in today's class. Got it, everyone? By the way, knight to d4 gets converted to a classical Scotch opening. Someone suggested knight to d4. It will not convert to a gambit opening, because as the word gambit is coming in, everyone, that means you have to sacrifice a pawn. If you recapture the pawn back simply with the knight, it will not be considered as a gambit opening. The reason I have preferred gambit opening over the classical opening, because gambit opening gives you more chances to create some crazy sacrifices, crazy traps, which we will be looking forward in our upcoming moves. So that's one of the reasons gambit opening is really very helpful in order to bring out your pieces really very early in the game. So any doubt you are having till now, even you can just mention it in the chat. So this is the start of bishop c4, start of our Scotch gambit opening. So after this move, everyone, let's look out some of the main moves which our opponent can come up with. Let me take you to that, just a second. Okay. So with the green arrows, I have highlighted all the possible moves which your opponent can come up with. One of the move which is getting highlighted is knight to f6, which opponent can play. The second move, which is one of the main move which opponent can play, is bishop to c5, normally developing the bishop. The other moves which opponent can play is bishop to b4 check. This is the same move which earlier someone suggested as well. Apart from that, we have pawn to d6. Apart from pawn d6, we have bishop e7. So these are the possible good moves which black can actually come up with. But I want to ask you all, which variation you want to look at first. Is it the bishop move first, or is it the knight move first, or is it the pawn move? So which piece move you want me to go through first? So let's follow the chat. So while you're thinking about this, let me tell you the story behind this opening, everyone. So as from the name itself, you can understand why the name is Scotch Gambit opening, because this opening was actually invented by the Scottish people. The people from the Scotland country actually popularized this opening. A lot of good players from Scotland used to play this opening. One of the players who really popularized this opening in the 19th century was actually Paul Murphy. Paul Murphy was one of the great chess players who actually popularized this opening along with Adolf Anderson. So these two players played a very crucial role in order to popularize this opening. So that was one of the facts regarding this opening. How did this opening got really very popular? Okay, so I have some suggestions in the chat. Looks like a lot of players are preferring here to discuss the bishop move first. So we will be going with the chat. So as the chat suggests, let's discuss what are the possible bishop moves which your opponent can come up with after you play bishop c4. Before I move ahead, you can just read out this paragraph everyone, what it says. It says, this gambit arises after the moves which I have played here over the board, where white sacrifices a pawn to rapidly develop pieces and seize control over the center. So in order to get more control of the center, white have initially sacrificed the pawn. But the ones who are getting worried, like Coach Ayush, like I'm worried that I'm losing a pawn early in the game. Don't be worried, everyone, because soon I will be getting you through different opening traps which you can execute. Let's first of all discuss bishop e7. So after bishop e7, everyone, again we can play a very amazing move, which will definitely bring your opponent into a tough state. The move which we can play after a bishop move, it's not only regarding this move, everyone. Even the hint is, the trick is to remember your next move is any bishop move your opponent plays, like even if it is bishop e7 or even if it is bishop to c5 or even if it is bishop to b4, you will be replying with a common move. And what's the common move, everyone? We can play against all the bishop moves. It's actually pawn to the c3 square. So the move which we can play next is pawn to c3. So after the move pawn c3, now black is in a tough state. That is, should I take the pawn on the c3 square? Should black get greedy and take a pawn on the c3 square, or should he develop a new piece? Something like this. So what do you think, everyone? In the chat, you can try to answer what you think your opponent can play. Is it taking your pawn back on the c3 square, or is it playing a kind of developing move? Okay, looks like I have some suggestions in the chat. Okay, I have one of the questions coming up from Parvati. That is, why can't black move his knight to the a5 square? So in what move exactly knight a5 you are thinking we can come up with? Like against bishop c4. Okay, against bishop c4, if knight a5 comes in, I guess we can simply move our bishop to the b5 square. And right now this knight is really very passive and it is in a very really tough state. So against knight a5, bishop b5, we can simply come up with. Okay, a lot of players are suggesting instead of taking the pawn on the c3 square. Okay, let me play this out. Bishop e7, c3. Instead of taking the pawn back on c3, a lot of players are suggesting in the chat, what if black plays a normal developing move, that is knight f6. If black comes out with a normal developing move, everyone, like knight to f6, we can immediately strike that piece away, for example, by playing a move that is pawn to e5. After playing this move, your opponent will definitely get into a tough state again of finding a good square for this knight. So for example, if they move their knight towards the center, like knight to e4, we can take that pawn back, which we earlier gave it for free. By taking it back, you can see how good command in the center we are having. So that's the main motive of playing this opening, to have good command in the center and to have the development of pieces in a very rapid fashion. So for example, if opponent castles in the game, you can now develop your knight to the c3 square. After these two knights gets exchanged, now you are having the strongest pawn formation, that is connected pawns. You are actually having the connected pawn chain. So this pawn chain is really very strong for you all. And now you can just develop out your other bishop as well and castle in the game and really have a good gameplay. So that's the thing you can do if your opponent gets fearful after your move pawn c3 and plays a normal developing move like pawn to d6. Against pawn d6, you can simply recapture the pawn back, and you can really see how good control you are having over the center. And now your pieces will be coming in, like knight to c3 will be jumping in, the bishop will be coming to the f4 square, castling will be getting performed. So definitely white will be in a good shape after black plays a normal developing moves. So let's look out at the most played move which black usually plays here. So black prefers to play pawn takes c3. So if black plays pawn takes c3, we will straight away get a winning position. Any guesses? What is the winning move here? White to play, everyone, and you have to guess what's the winning move here with the white piece. The hint is you have to move your queen. The hint for this position is find a winning move with the queen, which can create a checkmate threat. So play out the queen move, which can help us to create a checkmate threat. So let's see if in the chat, if anyone can answer. And just to add one reward, everyone, whoever answers the most correct answer in the chat today, we will be picking one of the topics from that person to actually live stream it in our next video. So definitely a golden opportunity for the players or for the parents, kids who are actually participating today in the chat section. Okay, so Miss Gayatri have come up with a very good move, and that's the best move, that is queen to d5 square. So once we play queen to d5, everyone, that's the right answer. Why this move is really very effective? Because as you can clearly see, it is threatening a checkmate on the f7 square, where the king will run away after this move. The king have nowhere to run away. Like if the king goes to f8, queen f7 is a straight away checkmate. So we have a lot of different good answers as well. Like well done, Naga Praveen and Parvati and Kritish, Kritlesh and Usha as well. That's the right answer. Queen d5 is the winning move. After queen d5, hardly black have any move to defend the square. Like if bishop gets away, still you will deliver a checkmate on the f7 square. But there is only one move which can defend your opponent, everyone. That is knight to the h6 square. Knight h6 actually defend the square, which is on the f7 square. But still, you don't have to get worried. There is a tactical thing in chess, that is, if someone is defending any piece, try to remove that defender. So the tactical name is removing the defender. So is there any move, everyone, which we can play to remove this defender, that is the knight? I guess if you focus all the way to your bishop, which have not developed till now, that can play a very crucial part here. That is, you can play out a move, bishop takes knight on the h6 square. So once this move happens, everyone, now even the defender is gone. If opponent recaptures your bishop, again, you go checkmate in one move, queen f7, and it's a checkmate. Bishop is defending the queen, the king have nowhere to go. So definitely after bishop h6, you will be getting a winning position. Is it clear, everyone? So write yes in the chat if you have understood this variation. So with this, our first variation gets completed. What if opponent plays bishop to e7? Against your move, that is bishop c4. So against bishop e7, as I have repeat, I will just have a quick recap. Against bishop e7, we discussed we can play pawn c3. If opponent plays a normal developing move like knight f6, we can attack the knight. Knight goes away, and then we have a very nice control over the center. And if opponent falls for our trap and takes our pawn on c3, we straight away get a winning position after queen d5. We attack the pawn on f7 as a checkmate threat. The only move which defends it is knight h6, but we are able to remove that piece as well. So answer yes in the chat if you have understood it. Well done. So looks like we have a couple of yes in the chat. That's great. That's great. So that means let's go with the second variation, everyone, with the bishop. That is, what if someone gives a check early to us in the game? That is bishop b4 check. So I guess earlier Miss Usha also said that what if bishop b4 comes in? If bishop b4 comes in, everyone, will you move your king away, like to block the check? to defend the check? I think the answer should be no. We should move. No, we should not move the king away. Whenever you are in a check, everyone, try to look out three possible escapes. One is running away to a better square. That's not a good thing right now. The second one is to capture the piece which is giving a check. But right now it is not possible. We can't take the bishop. The third and the final thing which you can look out for is to block the check. Is it possible for us to block the check? Yes, it is possible. And the move which can be played to block the check is pawn to c3. So this move is really very crucial, everyone. I will simply write it here on the left side of the board. That is pawn move to c3 is common against all the bishop's move. So this move is quite very common, everyone, against all the bishop's move in our matches. So definitely pawn moving to the c3 will even work if someone gives a check on the b4 square. After we play out pawn to c3, the only good defense for your opponent is to recapture the pawn here. And after they have recaptured the pawn on the c3 square, you mainly have two ways to play this out. One of the way you can actually continue is to recapture the pawn back with your pawn, something like this, and the story gets repeated. Why did I say the story gets repeated? For example, if the bishop goes to e7 to save itself, you will be coming up with the common move that is queen to d5, simply threatening a checkmate on the f7 square. And if they play out a move that is bishop to c5, now you must be thinking, okay, coach, we can still go with this move, queen to d5, attacking this bishop and threatening this checkmate. But now your opponent have a little good escape. That is, they can play queen e7 and they will be able to defend both these pieces. So instead of playing queen d5, you can make a little change in the move order, everyone. That is, you can do a nasty sacrifice. That is, bishop takes f7 with a check, king takes the bishop, and now you can play queen d5 check. With this double attack, not only you are giving a check to the opponent, but you will recover the bishop back which you earlier sacrificed. So after the king gets away, you simply take the bishop back with a check again. And this position is a pretty good position to play with the white pieces. I guess so you can just bring out your bishop in the game. And then after a quick castle, white really have a very good position to play with. I hope everyone understood it. So this is one of the things where you can do it. But if anyone is really a big fan of gambit opening, I think after giving two pawns consecutively, definitely white will be planning to offer a third pawn itself. Yes, you heard it right, everyone. Third pawn we will be sacrificing in this game as well. So any suggestion, what move can we play here to sacrifice the third pawn in the game? Okay, so try to think out what can be the move which white can play out in order to sacrifice the third pawn. Okay, so the answer is, everyone, white can play out a move that is castling in the match. So this is an amazing move which white can respond with. Let me share you one of the stories. Like when I was playing with my dad is my first chess coach. He actually taught me chess, how to play this chess game. And when I started this opening in my initial days, when I learned it from one of the books, what I actually saw is this particular variation, that is castling in the game, sacrificing the third pawn in the b2 square. My dad scolded me and said, like, Ayush, are you mad? Like after sacrificing one pawn, after sacrificing the second pawn as well, you are going for the third pawn, which is on the b2 square. Like, are you sure you want to do a castle, or do you want to take back your move? I said to my dad, like, Dad, you can carry on with your move. I will stick with my castling move. So my dad was quite surprised and he actually accepted the third pawn which I was offering. That is, he captured the pawn on the b2 square. Now, basically, your opponent is 1, 2, and 3 pawns up in the game. But right now, we can't afford losing any other piece. So that's why here in this particular position, I recaptured the pawn which was on b2 with my bishop. After this recapture of the pawn on the b2 square, everyone can clearly notice now these two bishops have become the monsters. Like they are having complete command in these green diagonals. Not only that, the old-fashioned trick that is placing the queen on the d5 square is still also in the line. So after bishop b2, how will your opponent defend his g7 pawn? Anyone have any idea? How will opponent defend the pawn on the g7 square? Okay, so I have some suggestions in the chat. So you must be thinking like it's pretty easy to defend the g7 pawn. Like black can play pawn to the f6 square. After the move pawn f6, everyone, this is the same move which my dad played out in his match, that is pawn to f6, in order to block my bishop. But he was not aware that I'm not going to use only my two bishops, but along with that, I'm going to take help of my knight and the queen as well. How can I take help of my knight, everyone? I played the move that is knight to h4. So this is the same move I will suggest you all to play as well. After the move knight h5, basically I'm threatening queen h5 check. So this is a move which I'm actually planning to play next. Let me show out to you what actually happened in the game and what is the main line which usually your opponent have very high chances to play. There's knight to e7. If someone plays something else, for example, pawn b6, something random from the other side, then queen h5 check comes in. If the king moves, then it can lead to a checkmate on the f7 square. You must be thinking like, but Ayush, what if black blocks a check? That is pawn to g6. If opponent blocks the check, everyone, then in that case, we can take advantage of the spin. Anyone have any idea? How can we take advantage of the spin? You can try to answer it in the chat. How white can take advantage of the spin? So as I said, try to answer it, everyone. Make a guess, even if you're not sure. You never know. It can be right as well. And whoever guesses the most number of moves, definitely they will be getting a chance to suggest me a topic of which they want me to have the next YouTube session. Okay, well done. We have the first right answer by Naga Praveen. Well done, Naga Praveen. And then Miss Usha have also given the right answer. So it's knight to the g6 square. That's the right move, everyone. So after you execute this move, knight g6, the thing is, opponent can't recapture your knight. If they recapture your knight, the rook is in danger. Not only the rook you will be winning, but also you will be winning this knight which is on the g8 square. So that's the thing, you can do it by executing this beautiful knight g6 move. After knight g6, pawn to g6, queen h8, it's straight away a winning position. Not only opponent's king is damaged, but as I mentioned, you will be winning this knight on the g8 square as well. So for that reason, my dad was really very smart and he was really very happy after playing this move knight to e7. He said to himself and even to me while we were playing that, Ayush, now what will you do? The thing is, I can't give this check right now. If I give this check, everyone, it won't work like previously because my dad will play pawn g6. And now the moves which you all were suggesting, that is Thangela, Kritlesh, Parvati, Usha, Naga Praveen, that is knight g6, will not work out. Why it will not work out? Because knight will take the knight. So that is why my dad was really very happy after executing this move knight to e7. So anyone have any idea, like after knight e7, what do you think? How did I actually surprise my dad once again in the game? The hint is, it is one of the sacrifice move I executed. So let's see if someone can answer this amazing move, a sacrifice using the bishop. So it's a move which is with the bishop and it is a sacrifice move. Can you write in the chat what move do you think I played against my dad to really actually take him out of the game? And after that move, he was completely in utter shock. I will again repeat, it's a bishop move, everyone, and it comes up with a sacrifice. If you want me to highlight that bishop, you have to play a move with your bishop, which is on the b2 square. Okay, very close. Miss Usha have tried bishop f7. But if bishop f7 comes in, king will simply take it, not much that advantage. Okay, we have Parvati and Ramesh as well with bishop f7 suggestion. But no, it's not bishop f7. Let me reveal the move. It's actually bishop f6, everyone. So this is the move I executed. And there is a logic behind this move, everyone. What's the logic? The logic is why this move is not working right now, queen h5. The reason it is not working because pawn is coming as a rescue. Pawn is able to block the check. So in order to make sure we are able to deflect this pawn away, it's really important to execute the sacrifice, bishop f6. Till now, what we have sacrificed? We have sacrificed 3 pawns, and now this is the fourth piece we are sacrificing, that is the bishop. That is why this opening is really a very aggressive, very insane, and a very amazing opening to play on. So bishop f6 is the right answer. After bishop f6, if opponent takes our bishop back, now after queen h5 check, it is straight away winning. Again, opponent can't move their king because if they move their king, queen f7 will lead to a checkmate. And if they play a move that is knight to g6, which my dad played in his game, I simply recaptured his knight on the g6 square. He was completely helpless. If he tries to move his rook away, then I can do a discover check. For example, I can take his rook. It will be a discover check. If he takes my knight, then it will be a checkmate. So for that reason, let me show you what really happened in my game. That is, my dad recaptured this knight. I captured his rook with my queen. Sorry. Firstly, I played queen g6. I was planning to take away the rook, but I simply targeted the king more. I played queen e6 check. King goes to e7. And now just look at the beautiful ending which is going to happen. Queen f7 check. It is all forcing. Black don't have any other different move. King to d6. Rook comes to the check. As you can see, this is the fifth piece. Now we are actually participating into the attack. Bishop blocks it. Rook takes a bishop. Knight blocks it. Rook takes a knight. King goes to c5. Queen gives a check on d5. King b4. And now can you find out a move which can deliver a checkmate in one move? So it's a queen move, everyone, which you have to play out. White to play and find a move which can deliver a checkmate in one move. So after that move, my dad was really very impressed after the game. And he even asked me, like, how did you learn this opening? From where did you learn this opening? And then I revealed that I learned it from one of the opening books. Okay. So white to play checkmate in one move, everyone. Again, is there anyone who can find this move which can help white to deliver a checkmate in one move? Okay, we have one of them answering it in the chat. Well done, Naga, Praveen, and Usha. That's the right answer. So queen to b5 is the right move. After this move, it's a checkmate. Well done, Ramesh, as well. After this move, the king have nowhere to go. All the squares are covered. So this is a very beautiful ending, which I did it in my game against my dad. And definitely this was a game which was worth remembering. So against bishop b4, we have covered it as well. That is, we block the check with the pawn. And as I said, you can recapture the pawn back, but you can even play what I played in my match, that is castle in the game, offer a third pawn to your opponent, and once they capture it, take it with the bishop. All the bishops gets activated. The knight will be coming into the picture, that is knight h5. And then we saw very beautiful sacrifice, that is bishop f6, pawn takes bishop, queen gives a check on h5, knight blocks a check, knight takes knight, and then it all leads to a kind of checkmate to the king towards our territory. So very beautiful finish. We can actually do it against our opponent if someone plays bishop to b4. So I think we have covered bishop b4. Please write yes if you are getting the concept, and if you want me to move with the next variation, that is bishop c5. That is this move. So please write yes in the chat if we should move forward with bishop c5. Okay, so we have some yes in the chat as well. So let's go with the move bishop c5. And bishop c5, your opponent have very high chances to play this move, because if someone is really worried about saving their pawn, which they have recently won on the d4 square, very high chances they will be playing out a move like bishop to c5. Against bishop c5, as I have said, against all the bishop moves, you can play a very common move, that is pawn to c3, this move. So pawn to c3 is a move which we can play, everyone. Again, the trick remains the same, that is, if opponent takes the pawn on the c3 square, one of the pretty sacrifice which you all have to remember, everyone, is a sacrifice on the f7 square. So now again we have a golden opportunity to sacrifice our bishop on the f7 square with a check. King takes the bishop, and now queen d5 does a double attack. So with this move, we are doing a double attack to the king and to the bishop at the same time. And again, as I said it earlier, this position leads to a kind of winning position to the white side due to better piece activity, due to better king, and due to better center control. So after the king gets away, queen takes the bishop, and even if your opponent takes your pawn on b2 square, that's completely okay. Once you recapture with the bishop, it's a really very good gameplay you can have, as you can clearly see. I think everyone got the idea. Against bishop c5, the move order will still remain the same. So is there any doubt? You can ask me in the chat, everyone. Okay, so before we go to the next variation, that is the knight variation, let me just suggest one another variation apart from pawn to c3, which you can execute, which I have been executing recently in my online matches. And the move is straight away attack this pawn. And how can we do that? Play the move knight to g5. After knight g5 is really a very tricky move, everyone. A lot of players fall for this. They're not even able to defend the pawn on the f7 square after the move knight to g5. So what do you think black can play in order to defend this pawn on f7 square? Is there any move from the black's end which can play, which they can play to defend the pawn on the f7 square? And just for our viewers who are thinking like, Coach Ayush, like, are we not giving a free knight? No, that's not a free knight, everyone. Our knight was really very well protected by the bishop. So if queen dares to take our knight, then we can simply win the queen on the g5 square. So against knight to g5, definitely queen to g5 is not working. Okay, very good. So we have some suggestions in the chat. Some are suggesting knight at 6. And that's the right answer. Yes, black can play knight at 6 to defend this pawn. Yes, the knight is getting to a little odd square. But players do prefer to play knight at 6. Apart from that, the only move which defends the f7 pawn is actually the knight e5. And the ones who are thinking like, Ayush, why not pawn f6? Pawn f6 will not work out, everyone. Yes, you defend your pawn, but what about the move knight f7? After knight f7, I can do a double attack and I will be winning your rook. So for that reason, knight e5 or knight to h6, which was suggested by many of you, that is Parvati, and we have Naga Praveen as well, who suggested knight at 6. So knight at 6 is the right answer. After knight at 6, again, we can actually strike with a crazy sacrifice. And this sacrifice is quite very common on the f7 square, everyone. So f7 square is one of the square which you definitely have to have a good focus on. So after knight at 6, you can make a sacrifice again on the f7 square. Boom, knight takes on f7 square. After this move, again, your opponent is in a very big trouble state. Two pieces are getting attacked. So once your opponent takes the knight back, bishop will be recapturing the knight. King takes the bishop. And now again, can you find out in the chat what queen move we can play to do a double attack to these two pieces and recover our piece which we earlier sacrificed? So here is the chance to recover the piece which you earlier sacrificed and do a double attack to these two pieces. I've given you the hint. It is a queen move, everyone. Okay, let the answer come in. So what move white should play to do a double attack? Okay, well done, Naga Praveen. That's the right answer. So the move which we can play is queen to h5 square. So remember this trick, everyone. whenever you see your opponent king sitting towards the initial square, it can be on the E8 square, or it can be on different square which is near to the initial square, or it can be even in the G8 square. Very high chances you can execute a double attack using the queen. And I remember it with a pattern that is a kind of triangle formation. We can do it. So this is the thing which we can execute, everyone. That is, a triangle formation can be the pattern which you can remember to execute these kinds of double attack. It's very common, like not only against this bishop. For example, if some of the cases you may find this bishop. Okay, let me show out to you how this is really very common. For example, I play a bad move like knight here. Opponent plays something like this. I'm just trying to create a position, that is castle, knight h5. And here, as you can see, the king is near to the initial square, and the other piece is actually a loose piece which don't have any defender, which is actually on the edge of the board. So again, focus on the triangle formation, everyone. We can play out a move like queen h5 check, and boom, it's a triangle. And with this move, you will be winning the knight, which is on the edge of the board. So this triangle formation is a pretty handy trick which you can definitely remember. So yes, I guess everyone guessed it right. So queen h5 is the right answer. We have Ramesh answering it right. Then we have USA Tamil Lifestyle. Then we have Usha. Well done, everyone. Queen h5 is the right answer. After king gets away, you know what to do. That is, Gobal, you can capture this, Gobal up, the free bishop on the c5 square with a check. And after your opponent moves the pawn or the knight to block the check, you can simply go for a castle, and you can really have a good gameplay. Overall, our main target was to damage opponent's king. And after damaging the opponent's king, you can simply secure your king in a very safe square and then bring out your other pieces. I think it's clear. And the ones who were thinking like Ayush, what to play against knight e5, I will say the same move order you have to execute. That is, play knight f7, everyone, against knight e5. If opponent captures back with the knight, which they have to do it, or else they will be losing the rook for free. So they will recapture knight. Bishop takes a knight. King takes a bishop. Queen h5 check. Again, the same trick we executed. The double attack triangle formation. King gets away, and then queen takes a bishop with the check. And this is a very pleasant position to play with the white pieces. So if everyone have got the concept, please write yes in the chat so that we can go with the knight defensive move. So we have covered all the bishop moves, all the possible bishop move which your opponent can play, and how we can get the advantage. I have shown you that as well. Now to move ahead, you can just write yes in the chat and we can go with the next one. Okay, looks good, looks good. Everyone is answering yes in the chat. That's great, that's great. Really love your participation, everyone. Keep participating in it, and definitely we will be making it more fun and more exciting as well. So with this, let's now go with the knight variation. We have covered all the bishop variation, and now it's time to cover the knight variation. What if opponent plays out a knight move? Okay, so let's go with the knight move, everyone. Let me bring out the position. Let me go with the start so that you can remember out the moves along with the moves which I'm playing. So pawn to e4, opponent plays pawn e5. We develop our knight on the f3 square. Opponent responds with knight c6. Now to play the Scotch opening, remember the third crucial move which you have to play, that is pawn to d4. Immediately striking in the center by playing pawn d4. Opponent captures your pawn back on the d4 square. Now to play the gambit opening, you have to play bishop to c4. And after bishop c4, we discussed all the possible bishop moves. Opponent can go bishop e7, bishop to c5, and even bishop to b4. Now it's time to go with the second piece, that is, what if opponent plays a knight move, that is to the f6 square. So if knight f6 comes in, everyone, against all the bishop move, which was a common move, that is pawn c3. This was the most common move we were playing. But now we can't play this move, because if you play pawn to c3, your pawn on e4 will be hanging. So we don't want to lose this pawn which is on the a4 square. That's why you can play very logically. Which pawn is getting attacked right now, everyone? Your pawn on the e4 square is getting attacked. So how can we defend it? Any idea in the chat? How can we defend this pawn and also attack the knight? Can you suggest a move which can help us not only to defend this pawn but also attack the knight? Okay, let's see if anyone can answer. Again, I will repeat, you have to defend the pawn and also attack the knight. Okay, well done. We have Hitesh, one of my very close friend. Well done, Hitesh. That's the right answer. So push the pawn to the e5 square. Hitesh answers it. So yes, that's the right answer, everyone. You will be pushing the pawn to the e5 square, attacking this knight. And now the knight will be asking to himself, like, where will I save myself? Where I will get away? If I go away back to the initial square, the king and the queen will become really very angry, and they will say that you just wasted our two moves by going up and down like this. So definitely the knight will not be going to the g8 square for sure. Even if they go to g8 square, you can create further attacks. You can implement the ideas which you have learned earlier. That is, you can play pawn to c3, making a space for the queen to come out here and attack this f7 pawn. So definitely you can execute the same ideas which we have discussed against the move knight to g8. So no one is going to play knight g8. Most of them are going to play these three moves. Either they will play knight to e4 to defend the knight, or it can be knight to g4, or it can be knight to h5. Against all these three moves, I will again come up with a sacrifice move, everyone. And again, it's not like sacrifice, we are executing it in a different square. The square is quite common in all these cases. And what's the square, everyone? That is the f7 square. So again, we can make a sacrifice on the f7 square. And this time, again, we will be using the same piece to do the sacrifice. That is bishop f7 check. Again, after this move, your opponent will be placing his hand in the head and will be thinking like, how can I stop white from executing these kind of sacrifices? And what's the answer even to this? There is no answer basically. We will not be stopping ourselves from sacrificing the pieces. We will continue our sacrifices against the opponent in these kind of opening. So that's why this is one of the very aggressive opening. Bishop f7 straight away. King takes the bishop. Opponent don't have any other choices. If they move the king to e7, they will be facing this keyword tactics, and we have very high chances to win the queen as well. So definitely they will be not playing king e7. They will simply accept our bishop. And now, can you answer in the chat, everyone? Can we play a move to do a discover check? The hint is it's a knight move. So it's a knight move. What knight move can we play to do a discover check? Can we have some answers in the chat? Okay. Okay, looks like a lot of you are answering. Let me check. Okay, let me reveal. Okay, so I have a lot of suggestions. One is knight to g5, one is pawn something. Okay, so the correct answer is well done, Hitesh, well done, Usha, well done, Ramesh. That's the right answer. Well done, Parvati as well. So it's knight to g5 check, everyone. We can play out. After this move, it's a discover check. That is, knight gives a check to the king. The queen attacks the knight, and now your opponent is in danger. So where the king will escape? If the king goes to the e7, any square it goes, they will not be able to defend this knight. That's why the name is discover check, because after moving the knight, you're basically discovering your queen. It's like in Hindi we call it ek tir mein do nishane. So basically by playing a knight move, you are doing two targets at the same time. That is, you are targeting the king and you are targeting the knight at the same time. So after the king gets away, you can simply take away the knight which is on the g4 square. And it's a pretty solid position to play with, I will say. Yes, your opponent may capture the pawn here, but after you recapture his pawn, definitely this position is a pretty good position. I think everyone will agree with me because we have equalized the number of pawns. Both the players are having equal number of pawns. And it's a pretty good position which white really have. White can look out further to do a castle in the game, develop out the other pieces. And definitely this diagonal is one of the diagonals which black will be really very worried about. So this is a thing you can execute against both the knight moves. Like even if knight goes to h5, everyone, the sacrifice is still the common one. Bishop f7, king takes bishop, knight to g5 check. Okay, this time you may ask me, like, Ayush, earlier the king was not able to defend the knight, but looks like, Ayush, you are now trapped in your own words. Now you may be saying that, Ayush, what if the king goes to g6? Don't you think the knight is getting defended by the king? We can't recapture the knight back. So looks like I'm in a very trouble state, but still I will leave it to you and I will ask for your help. Can you find out the sequence of two moves which can help us to deliver a checkmate in two moves? Yes, you heard it right, everyone. We can deliver a checkmate in next two moves. What move order white can play in order to do a checkmate in next two moves? And to give you the hint, the first move is with the queen. You have to give a check with the queen and then final checkmate move with the knight. If anyone can answer this puzzle, it will really prove that you really have a good strength in order to execute the good tactical power. So what move order we can play in order to do a checkmate in two moves? Anyone have any idea? Okay, Queen G4. Hitesh is suggesting Queen G4, but Hitesh, I've given the hint. You have to come up with a check move to execute this two move checkmate. Yes, that's the right answer, Hitesh. Now you have given the right move. That is Queen D3 check, everyone. You can play Queen D3 check. And once the king gets escaped to the h6 square, can we get the final move in the chat, which can help us to do a checkmate to the king on the edge of the board? So what move can you play to deliver the checkmate to the king on the edge of the board? So white to play checkmate in one move. Okay, we have some answers in the chat. So what to play to give a final checkmate in this position? So the move is, everyone, looks like everyone is getting like confused, like what to play to do a checkmate. But the move is you can play a double check move, that is knight f7. Well done, Nitish. That's the right answer. Knight f7 check is not only a double check, but it's a checkmate. The king have nowhere to go, and it's basically a checkmate. So if opponent becomes greedy and they try to come up with their king to save the knight, then you can do this beautiful checkmate with the knight. Knight f7 leads to a checkmate. So that's the thing regarding the knight move. If the knight goes here, you sacrifice the bishop. And after this check, you are getting a very good position to play with. I think everyone agrees with it. And let's cover the final few. What if the knight goes to e4? Against knight e4, even this time, we can't do a sacrifice on f7 because it won't work out. But instead of that sacrifice, you can simply go for a castle. There is no issues in it. Simply go for a castle and try to win this pawn in the next move. That's the thing. In order to defend this pawn, I think your opponent will be playing this move for sure. 99% of the players have played it in the Leech's database as well. That is bishop to c5. Because now this pawn is getting attacked by our two pieces. To defend this pawn, they will be playing out the move bishop to c5. And once this move happens, everyone, you have a golden opportunity to trap a knight. So which knight am I talking about, everyone? Any idea? Is it the blue one or is it the red one? So answer the color, everyone, in the chat. Which color do you think which the knight is standing, we are going to trap it? Is it the blue color or is it the orange color? Okay, by the way, well done, Naga, Praveen, Ramesh, everyone who are answering it correct, and even who are not getting it right, still kudos to them and great appreciation from my end for taking the effort to answer it. Well done. Okay, Hitesh have said that queen to d3 we can come up with. Okay, Frenzy have given the suggestion that by please talk in Hindi. Yes, we will be using the Hindi language as today most of us we have from the US region, from the Qatar region, from the East Asia. That's why I have chosen this English language as a medium to talk. But still, a good suggestion from Frenzy. We will definitely consider it when we are taking in the Indian matches. Okay, so Queen D3 is one of the move which looks like the right answer. but more than the queen d3. Okay, most of you have said blue. That's, by the way, the right answer. Yes, the knight which I've highlighted with the blue color, everyone, that is the knight which you have to trap. And how can we trap it? You can simply play a move like queen e2. And I think even Hitesh's move can be right as well. Queen d3 can be also played to trap this knight. But to my advice, I will suggest, Hitesh, that is play the move queen to e2. There is a reason behind this. If you play the move queen e2, as your opponent will be aware, okay, he can't defend the knight anymore. He will be definitely coming up with a move like pawn to d5. Pawn to d5 not only defends its knight, but also attacks its bishop. Can anyone in the chat answer this tricky question, what to play next? I think the move which I'm going to play next, a lot of players may raise a question against me like, is it really possible in chess to play out this move? So this is a special move which we call as en passant in chess. It's a French word, everyone, which have derived from the France country. So it's the en passant we can actually perform in this current position. So I guess, Hitesh, you must have understood why queen e3 is not much effective, because right now if you do the en passant, the knight won't be able to move because of the pen. Okay, bishop d5 is the suggestion, not bishop d5, Usha. Queen will take the bishop. The answer is you can play the move pawn to the d6 square. I was aware that most of you will not get this move, but this is one of the special moves in chess. In chess, everyone, remember there are three special moves. One is the castling. Like, castling is considered as one of the special moves because whenever someone is doing a castle, they're moving two pieces at the same time. Apart from that, second special move in chess is to promote a pawn to a piece. It can be a queen, it can be a bishop. As a piece is converting to a new piece, it's a special move. And the third and final special move in chess is the en passant. So en passant is one of the moves which you can do it against one of the opponent pawn which have directly come to the d5 square. To remember this, what you can remember that your pawn should be in the fifth rank. If you're playing with the white pieces, it will be fifth rank. If you're playing with the black pieces, it will be fourth. Your pawn should be in the fifth rank, and if you see your opponent pawn directly moving two squares up, you can perform this move, pawn to d6. I think most of you have got this idea, that is en passant. After this en passant, the knight is still in the trouble state, and after your opponent recaptures the pawn, you can simply be happy after recapturing this knight, and we have the advantage. I guess everyone got the idea. So we have covered all the possible good moves and the knight moves. So again, let me repeat it out. After the Scotch opening, if opponent takes a pawn, you develop your bishop on c4. If they play a knight move, you simply attack that knight by advancing your pawn and also defending your pawn. Once the knight gets away, you simply, okay, this time we can't execute this sacrifice against knight e4. Against the other knight move, as we discussed, you can execute the sacrifice. That's really very effective. Against knight e4, everyone, you can simply play a castle move. As I said, if your opponent does not defend the pawn and plays something bishop e7, then you can simply take away their pawn, something like this. And if they save their pawn on c5 by playing bishop c5, by queen e2, you can simply trap away the knight. That's the thing we can go for. So with this, we have ended the knight moves as well. Is there any move which we are left with against bishop c4? I guess pawn to d6 is one of the moves which opponent can come up with. So against pawn d6, everyone, it's a really very passive move which actually makes the bishop really very inactive. Against this move, I will simply suggest, simply take opponent's pawn, and if they recapture the knight, you can recapture with the queen, and you can see how powerful your queen is getting placed in the center. What else do you want? The knight will be coming out in the few moves, the bishop will be coming out, castling will be happening in, and you will really have a very good position to play in. So these are the points. So reply yes if you have understood all the variations which we have discussed in today's class. And with this, we can end here for today. And maybe next time I will tell you regarding the moves which black should play in order to get a safer position against this Scotch opening. But for today, it was all dedicated from the white's end. So do reply yes in the chat, everyone, if you have understood this topic. So can we have yes in the chat? So So definitely I will be checking uh, whoever like the top three persons who have answered the most correct ones, and definitely do comment it out on this particular stream. So, and suggest your suggestion regarding what next opening you want me to work on. You can directly mention here itself, like Miss Usha, Ramesh, Hitesh, Fun Lover, Naga Praveen. Please suggest your next opening which you want me to actually come up with, which you are interested to learn, and you want more kind of ideas and strategies related to that opening for sure. So for today, we can stop here. It was really nice to have you all, everyone. I will thanks again for you all to participate in today's stream and give your opinions and different ideas what we can come up with. So with this, everyone, I wish you a very good weekend and you really enjoy your day and the coming Sunday as well. And do try this opening out. And if you get positive results in the start, you may get some losses as well. But a player always learns from his losses itself. So definitely try this opening out and definitely suggest in the comment section, in the chat section, what kind of results you are getting after executing this opening. So see you until next time, everyone. So bye, everyone. Take care and have a blast from the show.